Okay, if you go to the next slide, okay, it says, what is this called? So we have something and it has arrows on both sides. And this just goes back to vocabulary. This is a line. Okay. Are you guys all with me so far? I'm going to assume that's a yes, unless somebody either messaged me no. Okay, if we scroll to the next slide, it says, what is this called? So we got a dot on one side and a line with an arrow on the other side. Okay, so this one is called array. It's array. Okay, if you go to the next slide, it says, what is this called? So we got, it looks like a line with two dots. One is labeled A and one is labeled B. It's just part of a line. So a part of a line is called a segment. So some of you guys weren't here yesterday. That's what a segment is. Okay, I'm going to do the next two slides with you guys, and then you will have two slides to do on your own. Okay, so this one is a picture of a plane with some lines, okay, and it says how many points are there? Okay, and if we're looking at it, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we have 6 points. And it says to name them. So the names are going to be T, R, Q. I'm not very good at writing on this. S, N, Q, S, N, and V. Okay, it says, how many lines are there total? Name each of them. And I'm going to go through here and erase this. Now, we talked yesterday about how we can name lines. Obviously, there's plenty of ways that we can name lines. So there's one line that's kind of going up and down, and one line that's going across. Almost all of them have either just a single lowercase letter name, or you can use the two uppercase points with an indicator. Okay, so I'm going to name this line that's going up and down M, and just for giggles, I'm going to name the other one RQ. And if you use the two uppercase letters, then it needs to be capitalized, and it should have this indicator above it showing that it's a line. Okay, so okay, and then it says, is there another way to name NQ? So if we look at our stuff here, here's my N and here's my Q, and it says, is there another way to name this line NQ? So there's many options. You could just call it the lowercase m, or the line order doesn't necessarily matter. So instead of saying NQ, you could say QN, or you could say QT or TQ. Any of those work, so we're just going to say QN. Okay? It says, what other two ways could you rename the plane P? So, plane P is our general name of this whole plane. So the plane is anything within this yellowish color box. Okay, so, and if it's outside the box, like the uppercase N or the little m or the T, we can't use those, okay? And there's also another rule with it. So you have to pick 2 points that are on the same line and one random point. In this case, our only random point is V. So we're going to pick, for the first one, I'm going to pick RQV. Okay, and I'm going to pick, I need one more, so I'm going to say any point on here just cannot be any of these, and it can't be the little L because we need 2 points, not the title of a line. So I'm going to say SQV. SQV. Okay, our next one says, what are the names of 2 collinear points? So we talked about means like cohabitat, or I don't know, I can't think of something else today, but it means on the same line. So we have this line that's going up and down, and the one that's kind of going across. So pick one of those, and you need 2 points that are on the same line. Okay, so we could say RQS is one. So collinear needs to have 2 or more. And in this case, we want 2. So I'm going to go with RQ. And another one that I'm going to go with, we could say TQ. What are the names of 2 coplanar points? Okay, so coplanar means they need to lie on the same plane. So that's going to be this square plane. So coplanar, it's going to be any 2 points that lie on the same plane. You cannot use L because that's not a point. And you cannot use P because that's not a point. You cannot use T because T does not lie on that plane. And you cannot use uppercase N or lowercase m. Those don't lie on the plane and or they're not points. So these are your options that you can use. We need 2 of them, so it doesn't really matter which ones that you want to use. So we can use RQ and QS. Jeez Louise, Bree.
Goodbye, Mom.
Is everybody with me so far? Is that a yes? No? Okay, yes? I'm hoping so. If you're not, then you need to tell me. Don't wait until it's too late. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. This is what we did yesterday. So, Alex, I know you weren't here yesterday, not to single you out or nothing, but, and for some reason, I don't think Alex is on here anymore. That's okay. So, as long as you can hear me on somebody else's. So, we did segments and rays yesterday. Most of you guys did all right. Some of you guys, the rays, you were not doing correctly. Some of you guys I talked to in person about it, and some of you guys, I didn't check yours, so your rays weren't right. Okay, so segments are any 2 points and the stuff in between them. So one of the segments that we can use is DE. And it wants us to name 4. And in this case, the segment order doesn't matter. So we could say ED is another segment. We could say EF. And the order doesn't matter, so you could flip that and say FE. Okay? So we got our 4 segments. There's other options too. You could say DF or FD. Okay, and the next one says name 3 rays in the figure. So the rays is where some of you guys are screwing up at. So that says you need to pick a starting point, and a ray has 2 points. So we can start at E, and we're going to say we're going in this direction. So our starting is at E, and the last point that it goes through is going to be D. Okay, so our ray is going to be ED. Okay, and then if we pick another ray, for example, I'm going to say, well, I want to start at F. I keep trying to write on the TV. And we're going to go in this direction. And this is what some of you guys were doing yesterday, and you would say EF, and that's not actually accurate, okay? So you start at F, and it's the last point that it goes through. So our line is going this way. So some of you guys would want to pick E, but that's not the last point that it goes through in this direction. So it's really going to be FD. Okay, it's going to be our ray in this figure. Okay, and then we're going to pick one more. So we'll start at D, and I want to go in this direction. So my start is at D, so that letter goes first. Okay, and I'm going in this direction, and the last point that it goes through E, and then it goes through F. So my last point that it goes through is going to be F.